the Health Minister, Dr. Joe Phaahla, on Friday, who actually mentioned that it was President Cyril Ramaphosa who, in some respects, had to kind of agitate for these doses to make their way back into this country. Given the context we're in, it's a bit sad that it had to get there.
Yeah, you would think that it's common sense to take doses that were filled and finished in a country that has only received 14% of its vaccine stock, to distribute it in that country and not to ship it off to a continent that's actually stockpiling vaccines. But we have seen vaccine inequity right from the start of this pandemic. And someone who has been writing for Bekasisa about that is Candice Sehoma from Doctors Without Borders, and she's joining us now to explain a little bit more about it. Candice, welcome to the Health Hub, and thank you for your time and for joining us. What is your reaction to the latest developments?
Thank you so much for having me, Maya. I think it's quite an unfortunate and such a shameful situation that things had to spiral down to us calling for the vaccines to be returned into the country. And as you say, especially in light of the fact that the EU has stockpiled vaccines, and that there's more than enough for the country, yet they still feel the need to feed off our crumbs and the little we have as the African continent. I think it's quite appalling. Beyond that, I think it's also an important indication that we cannot trust the pharmaceutical industry. Our South African government also needs to do a bit more in terms of being tougher in their demands, ensuring that the agreements benefit the continent, that the way things are set up, things need to change, and we cannot be manufacturing vaccines in the country only to export them to countries that already have enough for their citizens.
Candice, Johnson & Johnson has been producing medicine for decades. Have there been previous incidents in which they've acted in a similar way?
Yes, so this is not new. I think this anti-competitive way of doing things is not new, and we've seen that with the case of bedaquiline, which is a TB drug. It was firstly developed with taxpayer money, philanthropic money, and very important leg of the clinical trials was done in South Africa. So meaning South African citizens were part of the research and development and contributed to gathering evidence for its use in the country, which also informed decisions by the World Health Organization to recommend the drug. Despite all of those contributions, Johnson & Johnson still holds the patent on the medicine in many countries, including South Africa. The key patent of bedaquiline has been patented in South Africa until 2027, meaning that the corporation still controls, still has monopoly control over the drug, meaning that they have an upper hand on the price setting negotiation, and that can also block the potential alternative entry, or rather entry of generic companies into the market, which, basically they have the control over who accesses the drug, which I think to some extent it has affected, TB patients, where they've actually had to resort to using, toxic medication because they can't access drugs like bedaquiline. And I think we still see that in South Africa, but also in countries like India, which, there's still kind of control over the drug.
Thanks very much for your time today, Candice. That was Candice Sehoma from Doctors Without Borders, and she is the organization's Access Campaign Officer.